Good morning, everyone. It's BHF Radio, and you're listening to me, Bhavini Makwana, and Bhavini Makwana this morning on Saturday, 28th November. I hope we're coming across loud and clear. There have been a few issues this morning, so hopefully they are and have been sorted out. So today we are going to be playing you some fantastic tunes. We've got two speakers coming on, and it's International Day of Disabled Persons on Thursday the 3rd of December, and this year's theme is hidden disabilities. So we'll be focusing on couple of conditions that are actually hidden, and we'll explain actually what a hidden disability is. But first we'll play a couple of songs and we'll come to our first speaker, Kim. So what's the first track, Bharat?
So the first track is Chor Bazari, and here it comes.
दिलबर तुझे मिलने को कब से था मैं बेकरार, अब जाके आया मेरे बेचैन दिल को करार।
देखा है पहली बार साजन की आंखों में प्यार, अब जाके आया मेरे बेचैन दिल को पलके झुकाऊं तुझे दिल में बसाऊं, अब बिन तेरे मैं तो कहीं चैन न पाऊं। पलके झुकाऊं तुझे दिल में बसाऊं, अब बिन तेरे मैं तो कहीं चैन न पाऊं।
तू मेरा जिगर है, तू मेरी नजर है, तू मेरी आरज़ू, तू मेरा हमसफर है।
देखा है पहली बार साजन की आंखों में प्यार, अब जाके आया मेरे बेचैन दिल को करार। मेरी अदाएं ये मेरी जवानी बस तेरे लिए है, ये मेरी जिंदगानी। मेरी अदाएं ये मेरी जवानी बस तेरे लिए है, ये मेरी जिंदगानी।
तू मेरी गजल है, तू मेरा तराना, आ तेरी धड़कनों पे लिख दूं दिल का फसाना।
देखा है पहली बार साजन की आंखों में प्यार,
देखा है पहली बार जानम की आंखों में प्यार, अब जाके आया मेरे बेचैन दिल को करार।
दिलबर तुझे मिलने को कब से थी मैं बेकरार, अब जाके आया मेरे बेचैन दिल को करार। देखा है पहली बार साजन की आंखों में प्यार,
So, welcome back, and like I mentioned, we'll be talking about, to two different speakers talking about hidden disabilities. And what a hidden disability is a person may have a condition, they may have a disability, but it's not visible, it's not obvious. You can't tell from just by looking at the person that may have a disability. So my first guest actually is vision impaired, and being vision impaired, blind myself, I always get, well, you don't look blind, because I guess my eyes, you can't tell just by looking at me that I may be blind. But yeah, over the years, I've got a degenerative eye condition, which I have lost a lot of sight. So just by looking at me, that wouldn't be obvious. But I do have a guide dog now. And previous to that, I used to use a white cane. But just by looking at me, you wouldn't be able to tell. So my first guest, Kim. Welcome, Kim. Welcome to BHF Radio. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you?
I'm fine, yes. Perfectly fine.
Brilliant. And thank you for coming on today. So like I mentioned, you're vision impaired yourself. What conditions do you, because you've got a few eye conditions sort of together, don't you?
I do. I have several eye conditions. The eye condition that set off my sight issues was a condition called ocular histoplasmosis syndrome. And I was born in Kenya, and I picked up a virus, a spore there, which remained latent. And when I was 30, it triggered off, and it took nearly all my sight. They eventually, with a lot of medication, managed to bring some of the sight back. But it left me with glaucoma, macular degeneration, optic neuritis, and a condition called Charles-Bonnet syndrome, which basically means that I have no central vision. I can see peripherally, so that's on the outer sides. I see in colour, and I can see large print if held up really close and at an angle. So when people look at me, they can't tell that I have a vision problem. And it's quite often hard to try and explain to them, especially when they show me things like photographs that look, I can see the photograph, but all I'm seeing is a blur of colour and I can't make anything out.
Yes, and I guess that's probably the same on like social media, for example.
Yes, so social media is really sort of difficult because access to things like social media, to the internet, to telephones, a simple thing like trying to find an address or a telephone number is really hard. But since becoming visually impaired, I've learned that there's an awful lot of support out there, and there is an awful lot of accessible equipment. For instance, the phone that I'm using at the moment to talk to you is a talking phone, and it allows me to be able to have messages, texts read out loud, the internet read out loud, to be able to access some parts of social media. And I do a lot of work on social media because I'm a visually impaired chef. So I create videos that help other people who are visually impaired, not just visually impaired, just anyone, to get into the kitchen and to be able to cook with confidence, showing them how you can do it despite the fact that you have a disability.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. And that's why, it's great speaking to you actually, because when people have a disability, especially from a BME or an Asian background, there's a perception that actually you can't do much. Once you're sort of diagnosed with a disability, at first, it's being trapped at home, not letting it manifest or not letting it be obvious to the society. But then it's that perception, because you have a disability, that you can't really amount to much or actually do anything. And actually, with the right support, the adaptations, there's a lot you can do. How did you first sort of come to know that, you have a passion for cooking, and how did it all begin?
I think it's a cultural thing. The Asian community love their cooking. They love their kitchens. We're constantly in the kitchen cooking and baking and making things and having dinner parties and parties. It's in our cultural DNA. And when I first lost my sight, it was one of the hardest things not being able to go into the kitchen. The first thing I tried to make was a sandwich for my children. And when my daughter said, "Mum, should the bread be green?" it really shook me up. And I kind of thought, well, I can't, this is not good. And at the time, people sort of kill you with kindness to a certain extent. Oh, well, you can't do this. We'll do it for you. You'll hurt yourself. You can't use a knife. You'll hurt yourself. You know, you can't cook. You'll hurt yourself. And sort of the hardest thing for me when I lost my sight was that not being productive, not being able to do anything for myself. And I'm the kind of person that I can't sit there and do nothing. So I thought, well, the best way to do this is to slowly teach myself how to get into the kitchen. And it is a confidence issue. And at the same time, you are fighting with well-being, well-meaning friends and family saying, I can do this if you help me, if you support me, if you show me the safest way to do this. I will eventually be able to do it on my own and even better than you.
Yeah.
You know, the thing with disability, and I kind of always say this, it's like a great big obstacle set in front of you. Now, most people can jump over the obstacle, but we can't. So we have to go around that obstacle the longer route. We may have to need support, we may need equipment, but we get there. And when we do get there, quite often, because we've worked so hard at it, we're better than anyone else that can do it without the support.
Yeah, exactly. So when you sort of first, started becoming more confident with going into the kitchen, what was the first kind of dish or what was the first kind of preparation? And, please share like any gadgets or any equipment that's accessible to you that allows you to be, really confident in the kitchen.
Oh, this is my favourite subject. Like any cook, any chef, I love my gadgets. And the first thing was, it was basic. It was a sandwich. And it was learning to find out the textures of different foods, of different products. I started to learn how to actually smell the spices. Normally when we make a curry, we just put the spices in. You see the colour of the spice, right? This is chilli powder, this is turmeric, and you throw it in. Now, if you're visually impaired, you can't do that. So I started to smell them. I started to feel them. I could tell the difference between jeera and sauve. And that way, I began to build up a picture in my head of everything. And then I started using gadgets to help me. Things like a talking kitchen scale. I bake a lot. I love baking. And sort of a talking kitchen scale is vital in any kitchen. I have an amazing talking microwave. So I don't, with an ordinary microwave and a lot of items at the moment, it's all digital. And when you can't see, you can't tell whether, you're on sort of defrost or you're on high power, how long you put the microwave on. So with the talking microwave, it does it for you. It talks to you. And my son, who is sighted, he actually prefers it better than a normal microwave. He says it's a lot simpler and a lot easier to use. You can tell my son's a bit lazy. And I have things like sort of a talking food thermometer. So meat, especially, a lot of people are worried about cooking meat when they have no sight because you can't tell whether it's cooked properly. Talking food thermometer does that for you. There are so many gadgets for the kitchen that you can use. And sort of they do help. And it's not just for you, for the rest of the family. You don't have to have a sight condition. People that are short-sighted or are sort of elderly and struggling with sight, they buy these pieces of equipment and it makes a difference because it makes life easier and you're not constantly asking other people for support.
Yeah. Kim, what are your favourite dishes? Like, what are your... I've seen your Facebook page and website where it has lots of videos and, you feel free to share that towards the end. But what are the most kind of favourite dishes you cook?
Oh, I have a mixture. I'm vegetarian, my son's vegan, my daughters eat meat, so I have a wide variety of dishes I have to make. I make an amazing lamb curry, which I marinate in oil and spices beforehand for about 3 days. And when I make it, by the end of it, it is so tender, it is unbelievable. I have a dish which I kind of invented. It's called Bonnie's Chicken. It's based loosely on sort of a chicken tikka. And again, you marinate it in yogurts and spices, utterly delicious. And there are things like sort of, English dishes, cheese onion pie. I love cheese onion pie.
Yeah.
I researched a lot of Western dishes from the wartime period, the 1950s. So I do like the old English sort of modern dishes, and I love baking. Today I'm making a devil's chocolate food cake, which is death by chocolate.
Sounds delicious just by the name of it. Kim, it's fantastic that, you've embraced your sight loss in terms of not letting it hinder your life and, cooking. It is a basic necessity that, it's a skill for life. And it's fantastic that you haven't let your sight loss get in the way of you being able to be creative in the kitchen, because your videos are creative and it is learning how to use different ingredients and create something really delicious. Finally, just before we have to let you go, is there a message you would like to share with anyone that might be vision impaired or might have another disability that wants to start getting in the kitchen, and where can they actually check your videos out?
Yeah, sort of the word disability and the word blind, visually impaired, whatever the word is, it sort of labels you, it defines you. And I kind of sort of looked at the word disability and thought, I don't like this word. So I broke it in half. I threw away dis and it left me with ability. And taking that one word, I looked at the abilities I did have, and I focused on them to be able to do things with them and to make life more productive and meaningful. And that's the one thing that I do say to everybody is, don't let your disability define you. You are more than the sum of your parts. If I can do this, anybody can. So just, don't think of a disability as sort of holding you back. Let it push you forward.
Yeah.
It can take you so far.
Brilliant.
And if anyone wants to see my videos or look at my sort of Facebook page, my name is Kim J. That's Kim Jaye. So just Google Kim J Cooks. There are YouTube videos. There is a web page. There's a Facebook page, and I'm always here. Sort of, if you message me and if I can help, I will tell you about accessible equipment. And again, you don't have to have a disability to contact me. Just, sort of literally everyone from all over the world does. Just for things like recipes and hints and tips. And I think it's when we work together that we can be better.
Amazing. Thanks, Kim. Thank you so much for joining us today on BHF Radio. And, do go and check her pages out just for some inspiration. If you're stuck for ideas of what to make, then it's definitely worth checking. Thanks, Kim. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to go to our next track now, which is Hawa Hawaii from the famous film Mr. India.
मैं ख्वाबों की शहज़ादी, मैं हूँ हर हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई बिजली गिरा रे मैं हूँ आई ओ बिजली गिरा रे मैं हूँ आई कहती है मुझको हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई समझे क्या हो नादाना मुझको भोले ना जाना मैं हूँ सांपों की रानी कांटा मांगे ना पानी सागर से मोती छीनो दीपक से ज्योति छीनो पत्थर से आग डालो सीने से रात चुरा लो हाँ चुरा लो चुरा लो हाँ चुरा लो जीनो जो तुमने बात छुपाई ओ जानो जो तुमने बात छुपाई कहती है मुझको हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई बिजली गिरा रे मैं हूँ आई कहती है मुझको हवा हवाई चिक्की लकी चिक्की चिक्की लकी चू रप चिक्की लकी चिक्की चिक्की लकी चिक्की चू पक चिक्की लकी चिक्की चिक्की लकी चू रप चिक्की लकी चिक्की चिक्की लकी चिक्की चू लाई रंगीन अफसाने तू भी सुन ले दीवाने आज में हलचल कर दूं आज तुझको पागल कर दूं मेरी आँखों में जादू मेरी सांसों में खुशबू जब मेरा ये तन लचके जाए न कोई बच के हाँ हाँ जी बच के सूरत ही में ऐसी पाई सूरत ही में ऐसी पाई कहती है मुझको हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई बिजली गिरा रे मैं हूँ आई ओ बिजली गिरा रे मैं हूँ आई कहती है मुझको हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई हवा हवाई गिरा पुकार तुझे सुना थी वही धुन.
Hi and welcome back. So today's theme, we are talking about hidden disabilities. It is International Day of Disabled Persons on the 3rd of December, which is this Thursday. Boris is actually going to read out a number of different hidden disabilities, conditions that are actually labelled as hidden disabilities, just to sort of mention what they could be.
So just to give an example of some of the list, one of the items is autism, there's depression on there, you've got brain injuries, even asthma, Crohn's disease, epilepsy, endometriosis, and also things like irritable bowel syndrome. But there's a big list that is available on the NHS website which sort of tells you about what are the hidden disabilities. So just if you wanted to check it out, have a look at the NHS website and all the information's on there.
Yeah, thank you. So we are joined by our next guest, Varsha, and she has a couple of conditions which are classified as hidden disabilities: fibromyalgia and ulcerative colitis. So let's welcome Varsha. Varsha, good morning.
Good morning, Bhavini.
Welcome to BHF Radio. Thank you so much for coming on, and I know you've said it's the first time you've actually spoken about it publicly, especially on a radio. So for that, thank you so much, because any awareness we can raise about conditions, speaking to people that are affected by it, and you are affected by these two conditions. Do you want to explain what they are and what signs and symptoms you started experiencing first?
Well, the first one I would say ulcerative colitis. That is something that I had for a very long time when I was little. Well, it came on about when I was 25 or something around that age. Apparently, it's a heredity, and also the symptoms are more. It starts off with the bleeding from rectum, abdominal cramps, and it's because it was so long ago, I can't remember, but I had a major operation where they'd taken out my big bowel, big colon, and given me a stomach pouch. So what the operation is known as ileostomy. So the output is usually from your little bowel, which is different to the colostomy one, because there's two different type of operation they give you when you have ulcerative colitis, when they can't do much about it, because with ulcerative colitis, basically, is your colons are ulcerated, where they tend to bleed, and that results in your blood in your stool. So any signs of stool, I would advise anyone to go and see the doctor first thing. Initially, they used to tell me I got piles, but I did not have piles. I suffered with this bleeding for 1 year before I finally put my foot down, and the hospital did an internal check when they told me I had ulcerative colitis, but it was far up up the colon, which they couldn't see in the outpatient clinics. So don't give up. If you got any bleeding, just get it checked out. That's my first advice.
Yeah. And apart from like bleeding, did you experience any other signs or symptoms like that could have indicated?
Not in the beginning, but later in my life, as it got worse, it was abdominal cramps. Anything I had used to just make me go to low, and it just kept on getting worse and worse. And I was on a steroid for long, on and off. Well, they put me on steroid. That steroid is one of the last things I would take now, because it ended up giving me so many side effects. But then everyone's different to steroids.
Yeah. And is there, you mentioned you had to have a couple of operations in that. Has that cured it, or is that just sort of like for management purposes?
Well, I must say it has improved my quality of life, because since I got rid of the ulcerated part of my colon, I have been able to lead a near normal life. I don't let it get to me. I can eat everything. When I had ulcer,
ulcerative colitis, I couldn't eat anything, especially spicy food. They used to trigger it to make it even worse. When I was under stress, it used to make it worse. There was lots of things that affected me while I was going through the flare-up. There was anything, sometimes little things used to flare it up, and that led to me having to go to loo, cramped up in pains and everything. But after the operation, I don't have any of those.
Oh, that's
I'm so
good.
happy. I'm so happy that I don't have to look for the toilet on a left side because I've got a stomach pouch. If I have diarrhea, I don't have to run to the loo.
Yeah, so I know, and am I right in saying, like, I'm just kind of imagining, like, when going out, maybe shopping or to functions, to a wedding or like exhibition, wherever, like, just going out, having a social life, I guess you might have to plan that very carefully and just check, like, what your facilities are and all that kind of stuff.
Well, in UK, we're very lucky because we got a public convenience or, everywhere we can go, and they're quite hygienic and everything as well. Most of them are hygienic, I've been to. Because I've got a stomach bag, I have to be careful what I eat, because the more I eat, the more I have to empty. So that way I have to plan my life around my social side. It doesn't affect me much, but I do have to be very careful because the stomach bag can be very unpredictable.
Okay. So it's great to hear that actually now, like, you are able to actually manage it, and sort of with certain, like, adaptations, planning and that kind of stuff, you can lead a comfortable life. And I guess you've mentioned that you also have another condition, and how does that affect you, fibromyalgia?
Well, it's actually very difficult because that's a very painful condition. And I only been diagnosed about 2 years ago. And I would say, personally, I feel it's more like you got a pain that's coming, when you got arthritis in your muscles, joints and all that, this feels like more like arthritis of your nerves. So it's painful condition that radiates from the nerves. And it's very difficult symptoms to describe and how to go about with this, but you need a really professional help to maintain it, because people don't realize fibromyalgia is a condition that affects a lot of people, and it's like a mixture of arthritis, normal pain, everything. It comes under a big umbrella that doctors are not even sure what it is.
Right.
Any symptoms, that you get, they put it down to you got fibromyalgia. That's why you got this problem. But I get a bit angry about that because they don't want to look deep inside what else it is. And fibromyalgia is a condition that hard to describe. It's basically a painful body condition that affects your nerves.
So it can affect any part of your body, I'm guessing.
Yes, it can be affecting any part of your body. Could be all over your body as well. Some days you could have it all over your body. It's like even being touched by someone, you're in pain.
Right.
And it's like an arthritis where you can't even move, or you can't get out of the bed, or do much of the walking or anything.
And how can you sort of manage that pain? Is it by medication or yoga, or like, is there anything you do that helps you?
Well, I've been trying to do quite a lot of exercise. Not a bit, quite a bit of more than the exercise lately. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to be positive. The more I try to be positive, it helps me to fight the conditions, because it's, I've got to train my mind to say I'm feeling better.
Yeah.
And it's like a nervous system. It's a nervous system that needs reconnection with your condition as well. So you got to I try to do a lot of positive thinking.
Okay.
I'm under the, try to go for the counselling for that. I'm trying to manage it as much as I can, and when I'm in pain, I rest up.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that actually when, you know, you have conditions like this, that actually just taking time out and doing what works for you, like you said, a bit of rest, relaxation. I think you've mentioned once before that you do yoga just to sort of help manage and just keep you positive. You know, Varsha, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on it. I know it's the first time you've openly spoken about these conditions that you're having, but I think it's really important for, you know, particularly our community to be aware of certain conditions, and don't be afraid, don't be scared, don't be shy to actually talk about things, don't be shy to ask for help, because I think the first thing is, you know, do ask for help and support, because like, you know, like you've said, there is support out there that can help you, give information, connect you to others that might be going through the same, to help you manage the condition. Would you say that's right, Varsha?
Well, I think yes, ask for the help, because there's a lot of Asian communities. They are, you know, they feel that having the stomach pouch, is a taboo, and they think that, you know, people will outcast them because they got waste product on the stomach. I'd say don't hide your condition, because if you don't say anything to anyone, no one's going to know, because it's not noticeable on your stomach. You got a little bag on your stomach. Yeah. And also, don't be nervous. Speak to someone about it. Ask for as much help as you can, because there are a lot of people who suffers. And the only thing I know is a language barrier, which we can overcome it. If anyone needs any help, just look up online or speak to someone in your doctor's surgery, and there are plenty of support groups that can help you. So
amazing.
Don't hide behind the closed door. Come out and speak about it, and there is plenty of support, especially for the stomach pouches and ostomy.
Fantastic.
I've been through it myself, and I know it's been very hard, but I'm a very positive person now. I'm there to help anyone if anyone wants to speak to me.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on air today and sharing about your condition. And hopefully someone listening, you know, please do reach out. Varsha, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on the show. And I hope everything goes all right for everyone who's listening to this show.
Thank you. Brilliant.
Okay,
Bye.
and our next track now is Mere Raske Kumar.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
ऐसे लहरा के तू रूबरू आ गई, ऐसे लहरा के तू रूबरू आ गई, धड़कने बेतहाशा तड़पने लगी, धड़कने बेतहाशा तड़पने लगी, तीर ऐसा लगा दर्द ऐसा जगा, तीर ऐसा लगा दर्द ऐसा जगा, चोट दिल पे वो खाई मजा आ गया, मेरे रश के कमर, मेरे रश के कमर, तूने पहली नजर, जब नजर से मिलाई मजा आ गया, जोश ही जोश में मेरी आगोश में, आके तू जो समाई मजा आ गया, मेरे रश के कमर, तूने पहली नजर, जब नजर से मिलाई मजा आ गया, जब नजर से मिलाई मजा आ गया।
Thank you so much to Varsha and Kim for coming on today, talking about their conditions, and like they both said, if there's anyone out there listening that could benefit from knowing more about them, and as Paresh mentioned, there are lots of websites, lots of information, and do ask for help and support. Go and speak to your GP. Don't suffer in silence. Do please speak out. And actually, talking on the subject of hidden disabilities, there is a scheme called a sunflower lanyard, which does allow a person who has a hidden disability to wear a lanyard. So when they go to an airport, a supermarket, wherever they go, it's an indication that this individual has a hidden disability. It's not obvious what the disability is, but they may need some sort of help or support. So it just, discreetly allows you to identify yourself as someone that might need assistance. And, a member of staff can approach you if you are wearing this sunflower lanyard. Please do go and search that up if that's something you would like to know more about. We've had a message and a shout out to Jamisha Palmer. It's her birthday today, and her mum, dad, sisters, brother-in-laws, nieces and nephew would like to wish her a very happy birthday today. And we're going to leave you today with a final song which has been requested, which is one of Jamisha's favourite songs, so I hope she likes it. Do tune in next Saturday morning at the same time of 10 a.m. on BHF Radio. Goodbye from me,
And yes, goodbye from me, and we're going to be leaving you with the song Dil Chori by Yo-Yo Honey Singh.
Yo-Yo Honey Singh. लाख रोका था यारों ने के ना कर तू मनमानी सुनो कल रात की कहानी पीली रेड वाइन मैंने पुरानी लाख रोका था यारों ने के ना कर तू मनमानी मिली मुझे एक अप्सरा कहती मेरे कोल अप्सरा मुझको ये तू बता क्या तेरा दिल है लापता दिल चोरी साडा हो गया की करिए दिल चोरी हो गया की करिए नैनों में किसी के खो गया की करिए ओ मैडम तेरी चाल तेरे सिल्की बाल अब मैं इससे ज्यादा क्या कहूँ मैं नशे में टल्ली हो गया की करिए दिल चोरी साडा हो गया की करिए
मुंडे कुड़ियां सब रल मिल जाएंगे होके क्रेजी जब फ्लोर पे आएंगे सारे मिलके नोट उड़ाएंगे जूम कर करके वीडियो बनवाएंगे
सारे हैं यार आज सारे हैं कजन लेट्स सेलिब्रेट प्री वेडिंग सगन ढूंढता हूँ मैं भी दिल वो कवारा जिसके लिए लगे दिल की लगन कईयों के आज होंगे रिश्ते के जिनके हो रहे हैं नैन मटके तू भी अक सीधी मेरे ऊपर रखे दस की करिए दिल चोरी साडा हो गया की करिए नैनों में किसी के खो गया की करिए ओ मैडम तेरी चाल तेरे सिल्की बाल अब मैं इससे ज्यादा क्या कहूँ मैं नशे में टल्ली हो गया की करिए दिल चोरी साडा हो गया की करिए सारी रात सारी दारू सारी मैंने खींच दी वेडिंग है यार की तो कम पार्टी विद मी धीरे कहो कौन जूते छुपाएगा जो भी छुपाएगा वो छितर खाएगा सुबह से ऊपर माहौल बनाना है बुआ सिफर जी को भी नचाना है पूरा मस्ती में जोर रहेगा और पी लो कोई कुछ ना कहेगा पंजाबी वेडिंग में लड़कियां पटती है दारू चलती है खुली बटती है दारू चली है तो दूर तक जाएगी केटरिंग वाले की शामत आएगी दिल चोरी साडा हो गया की करिए दिल चोरी साडा हो गया की करिए नैनों में किसी के खो गया की करिए ओ मैडम तेरी चाल ਬਦਲੋ ਨੀ ਤੇਰਾ ਲੱਕ ਨਾ ਮਰੋੜਾ ਖਾ ਜਾਵੇ ਹੌਲੀ ਹੌਲੀ ਕਿਤੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੱਚ ਬਦਲੋ ਨੀ ਤੇਰਾ ਲੱਕ ਨਾ ਮਰੋੜਾ ਖਾ ਜਾਵੇ ਹੌਲੀ ਹੌਲੀ ਕਿਤੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੱਚ ਬਦਲੋ ਨੀ ਤੇਰਾ ਲੱਕ ਨਾ ਮਰੋੜਾ ਖਾ yeah baby ਤੂੰ ਅਪ ਡਾਊਨ ਬੇਬੀ ਜਾਨ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਏ ਹਾਏ ਮੇਰੀ